14th Emir of Kanu and a former governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Sanusi Lamido Sanusi, on Wednesday called for a proper audit of the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, adding that the president of Nigeria should not be the minister of petroleum. Sanusi made this known while delivering his remarks at the Bank Directors Summit in Abuja. The former emir, who was CBN governor from June 2009 to February 2014, also noted that his insistence for the audit of the NNPC was what cost him his job at the Apex Bank. Well, let's take a listen before we come back for a discussion.
We cannot afford to continue producing the oil and not seeing the revenue. We are no longer paying subsidies. So where are the dollars? Before it was under recovery. Now we don't have under recovery. Where is the money? It was the issue I raised for which I was suspended. You can suspend me again. Okay? But it is an issue that this country must address. NNPC is the most opaque oil company in the world. When I was in the central bank for 15 years, they had not been audited. We paid 11 trillion naira in fuel subsidy. There's no accountability up to now. The National Assembly called NNPC to bring the documents. They refused. And by the way, let me advise that this idea of the president being petroleum minister is not a good idea. The last president was Minister of Petroleum for 8 years. When I was governor of Central Bank, we had a petroleum minister. So when I talked about NNPC, I could attack Dizani. Now nobody can talk about petroleum because 8 years, if you talk, you're attacking the president. We need that buffer. Somebody has to be there. So a minister has to be there who is held accountable by Nigerians.
No, Rufai, like he said, I mean, this actual insistence was what cost him his job back in 2014. It is not the first time Sanusi Lamido is advocating for the president not to be the minister of petroleum. Yeah. We've heard even other CSOs advocate for this as well. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. And also the fact that he talked about where is the dollars? Why are the dollars right now? But it's great that the Dangote refinery is set, to start full production, and hopefully that would be a huge saver in Forex.
Someone should point out one lie in what Emir Sanusi said. If you can point out one lie, I'll clap for you. There is no lie. All he said is what we've been saying all this while. They say they've removed subsidy. Where is the dollar? Maybe they were supposed to have savings from the subsidy that we put in the currency. We are still going to borrow. Where is even the 10 billion they said they want to go and borrow to buffer? Somebody was telling me this morning that dollar to naira on the black market is 1,200 now. Where is the money to buffer? Sanusi talked about money then. They pushed it, they said it was the problem. Talked about 120 billion. They said from there, they said it's not true. Where is the money? Why can't the NNPC be audited? Didn't we call for a forensic audit of the NNPC before President Tinubu even removed subsidy? So it's opaque. That's why I say anybody that can point out one lie in what he has said should come out. We'll clap for them. There is no lie in what he's been saying. And the idea of the president being the, what's it called? A lot of people have argued based on convention, blah, 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 and everything. No. We should have that level of opacity. Because if you keep saying the president should be, why can't the president also be solid mineral? Is it because oil is bringing more money? It's just one department that brings more money. If we're thinking economy, what should be bringing more money to the country is the productivity of Nigerians. Companies are living. Look at P&G now, Procter & Gamble. Remember back in days when Dunlop left? Remember when Michelin left? All these companies were living. So why can't we focus on the productivity of the company? Because when you look at even oil, how much is it adding to the GDP? Not much. All it does, it has a lot of the governmental revenue. Right. So there is nothing Sanusi has said that is wrong here.
Well, now that NNPC has...
Yes, because I was in the arena, the 2014 that he referred to, when he left as CBN governor. And of course, yes, part of the issue then was that he had raised alarm that money was missing. Okay, and one thing led to another. I don't need to rehash that. Now, he made a number of points. He was speaking at the Bankers Directors Association of Nigeria conference yesterday in Abuja. And he made a number of points. One, about the banking sector, the need for bankers to shore up trust among the people. 2, he talked about the need for the AMCON levy to be retained. The AMCON levy means that the banks will pay about 0.5% of their assets at year end and put it into AMCON. And he said, contrary to what many bankers have been pushing for, particularly the chairman of BDAN, that's Mustafa Chikiobi, that AMCON levy should stay. 3, he said that the CBN Act is good as it is, and it should not be amended, because to try and amend that CBN Act will give politicians an opportunity to put politics into it. All of that. Having been CBN banker and having been a career banker himself, he knows it. Now, he talked about the opaqueness of NNPC. Yes, he's right in that regard, because the audit that he's asking for, do you know that for 43 years in this country, nobody audited NNPC accounts until 2020, when the present MD of NNPC, as he then was, now CEO of NNPCL, released the 2019 and 2020 audited reports. That was the first time NNPC would release any audited accounts. Despite the existence of NATI under Waziri Adio and NATI under Ogbonayaoji, who is there now, have also, raised a number of questions. But where we are now, different from where we were in 2014, is that at least now under Mele Kyari, NNPC audits its accounts and publishes. And we can only insist on that, because that's part of what Emir Sanusi was asking for when he was CBN governor. Finally, he's saying that the president should not also be Minister of Petroleum. Okay, if we check from 2019, the Minister of Petroleum had always been the president, from Obasanjo to Yaradua. Then under President Jonathan appointed a Minister of Petroleum. Okay.
Diezani
Alisema. Well, go and check the experience of most people during Diezani Alisema tenure as Minister of Petroleum. She was so powerful. Indeed, at council meetings, I'm giving you eyewitness account.
I'm sure
before the president will enter council meeting, many ministers will go and greet her specially.
She was also very beautiful.
Well, no, they will go and greet her specially, with the exception of Mohamed Adoke, with the exception of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, and the Minister of Aviation, then Stella Odua. But all the other ones, they will be queuing up to greet her because of the power in that office. It's not about beauty.
I know. Of course, that was.
It's about the power in that office. So most presidents,
she's still beautiful. By the way.
Most presidents, we want to hold the portfolio.
All right.
So that they will hold the authority, because that is Nigeria's pot of soup.
But does that make it right?
Many of them will be reluctant to go and give it to somebody else, and then there will be arguments about ethnicity. Why did you make this person from this part of the country Minister of Petroleum? The minister exercises delegated authority. Right. If he wants to keep the portfolio himself for purposes of national peace, it's just pragmatism.
All right.
It's just wisdom.
The oil will go one day soon, Dr. Abatiu. The eye will clear.
Shall we take another story, guys? We'll take another story.
The eye will clear.
Well, all right. The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike, has reacted to protesters who called for his resignation on Wednesday, saying that they have been paid. The protesters had accused Wike of being inconsiderate of the plight of the FCT residents, adding that his actions have been controversial. Well, in the meantime, a video has emerged showing the minister singing and dancing to Tinubu's Song of Allegiance. On your mandate, we shall stand. Let's take a look.
Yes, sir. in the Chief of Staff's office. Well done. Very nice. I'm glad to see this.
I love it. Our new Michael Jackson. That was in the Chief of Staff's office, he said. But you know, isn't it on your mandate, Bola, on your mandate? So now he's made a new one. It's
he's a trendsetter.
I love it. Jagaban. Wike is legendary. Go ahead.
Wike the trendsetter. I think that's probably his favorite song. And let's not be surprised, because when he was governor, he had a personal band that went around
he
singing.
did.
And he composed a number of famous songs. So maybe perhaps we need his band to give backup to On Your Mandate. I don't know what the chorus will be.
It's On Your Mandate.
Jagaban. Okay, so
Mandate.
Jagaban.
I hope Bolanle Austin Peters is watching. Because when Governor Minister Wike leaves office, he may need another career. And Bolanle Austin Peters can find good use for his talent by putting him in a cast to perform on stage. He will be quite an attraction on stage.
Yesterday we talked about. Don't sell this. You have to sell that now. Don't give it for free.
The mandate, starring.
Here's some Wike. It will be a sellout. Bolanle Austin Peters, please. You have a likely recruit here in the future.
He might not have to wait till after office. I don't know what the policy is with having a side hustle as minister. He just might go into it immediately.
Right. Ministers, what do you expect?
All right, so yesterday we took the story about the protesters in Abuja, just protesting the high-handedness of Minister Nyesom Wike, and almost as if in response and to demonstrate the fact that he's not paying attention to what he's described as people who were paid to protest against him, and saying that it's a distraction from him focusing on doing the work that he was said. I'm going to take his quote. He said that as leaders, you must be firm, you must be bold, you must be courageous to take decisions. While I agree with him, what we also said yesterday was the fact that as a leader, you must also have heart. You must also consider the people. You can't be too high-handed, even when you're trying to sanitize things. And that's where the criticism of the people. You cannot lead the people that do not want to be led by you. You will be resisted at every turn, and no matter how great your policies are, you can cushion it in such a way that you're still achieving results whilst being, attentive to the people. Margaret Thatcher of the UK in the early 70s was termed Thatcher's milk snatcher, because in order to save £4 million, she had stopped giving free milk to over 7s in schools. And many years later, 20 years, she still talked about the fact that she regretted the actions because it demonized her amongst obviously other policies that she had made in the UK. What am I trying to say here? Yes, it was we're trying to save money. The UK was in need of revenue. However, the impact of that years later still spoke. It's the same thing. If you're going to lead and make policies, you must also recognize that you're not leading inanimate objects or animals. These are human beings with emotions, with feelings. So you have to think about that. You cannot keep saying, I don't care what they're saying, I'll continue doing. You are a leader for a reason, and a leader must lead with heart, even though he's been firm and and very courageous.
Absolutely, I love that. Well, let's hope that this new song will help soften the heart of the FCT residents, because music has a way of doing damage control. Well, all right.
Who prepares the national budget, and what is even the national budget? We asked some Nigerians. This is how they responded.
It's a program whereby the government prepares, things to be able to take care of the masses.
Okay, what I understand by national budget is the National Assembly that make the budget.
National budget is an estimate of income.
Budget means something you have planned to achieve or what you have in mind.
Income and expenditure that is prepared for a set period of time.
The president will get the budget and he will take to them to approve it.
A national budget is a document outlining the government's revenue and expenditures for a proposed period, usually a fiscal year. Ideally, the national budget should serve as a guide on how the country's resources are to be utilized, and also identify revenue-generating opportunities. And this brings me to the next question. How is the Nigerian national budget funded? The budget is funded mainly from revenues from oil sales, taxes paid by companies or individuals, and revenues from customs and excise, and borrowing, either foreign or domestic. The budget is usually prepared by the executive arm of government and passed on to the legislative arm for oversight. Preparing a nation's budget is a collaborative work. It is expected to be a meticulous process with different stages and segments. Number 1, government develops a plan. Number 2, the government estimates how much it would cost to implement this plan. Number 3, the items in the plan are prioritized and divided into years. Number 4, for an annual budget, the government will estimate the possible revenue in that year from all sources and match it with the expenditure that it wants to incur in that year. If government revenue is not enough to cover the expenditure, it will result in borrowing or scaling down the expenditure. Government borrowing has to be in line with the provisions of the Fiscal Responsibility Act, which implies that the deficit budget must not exceed 3% of the country's current gross domestic product, GDP. Now, what is your role as a citizen? As a citizen, you can be part of the budget process by making demands known to the government through your elected representatives, advocacy, or participating in the budget consultation process of the government. A national budget that involves public contributions ensures a stable democracy because it gives the opportunity for the people to own and accept the national budget as it reflects their opinion. The body responsible for providing budget function and implementing budgets and fiscal policies in Nigeria is the Budget Office of the Federation, www.budgetoffice.gov.ng. And that is Democracy 101 in 5.
Do you know that you can hold government accountable? How do you go about it? We got some answers from some Nigerians.
The citizens have the right to, kind of show their grievance to the government. It's by electing a good leader.
I feel like they should ask them some certain questions so they will be accountable for the way they spend our money.
By asking them how our funds are being spent.
Some very interesting responses there from Nigerians. The beauty of democracy and one of the bedrocks of a representative government is accountability. And we must not let that accountability go to waste. Section 14, subsection 2 of the 1999 Constitution as amended clearly ascribes sovereignty solely to the people of Nigeria. Therefore, it is within our rights to question every action and inaction of the government. In simple terms, you have the right to question the government. Now, let us go through some of the ways that you can go about it. One of the ways is by voting. Always be willing to exercise your franchise. Vote to elect people you trust and want to represent you in public offices. Also, remember, every election is just as important as the other. If you vote in a presidential election, nothing stops you from voting during a local government election. Attend public meetings and stay informed. These meetings include landlord association meetings, local council meetings, town hall meetings, and so on. Know your legislators and contact them regularly. You can get the contact of your legislators from the internet on the National Assembly website at nas.gov.ng or local council areas and keep in touch with them through calls or emails. You can provide them with useful information and situations in your constituencies. Citizens can organize themselves and pay advocacy visits to their legislators. Advocacy visits are an essential part of engaging with the government. Organize town halls and invite elected legislators. That's another way that citizens can hold their leaders accountable, by organizing these town halls and inviting legislators to interface directly with the people. You can write petitions and organize peaceful protest to register your displeasure on an issue that affects you and your community. You can also use legal action. You can use the Freedom of Information Act, where it is the right of citizens to have access to information held by public institutions and mandated to release the results within a time frame. And if information is not provided, citizens have a right to appeal that decision. You can use social media. Citizens can use social media to call out the government's policies and appointments. This platform is a global village and can also expose the government on an international scale, thereby threatening their foreign relations if they do not act right. Finally, know your roles and responsibilities and know that of the government. Do not hesitate to demand what rightly belongs to you.